श्रुतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ नमः प्रणवार्थाय शुद्धज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशान्ताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। पुनरपि तुष्टः आह
पुनरपि तुष्टः आह
जानाम्यहं शेवदीरित्य नित्यम्
जानाम्यहं शेवदीरित्य नित्यम्
यः ध्रुवै प्राप्यते हि ध्रुवं तत्
न ह्यद्वै प्राप्यते हि ध्रुवं तत्
ततो मया नचिकेतश्चितोऽग्निः
ततो मया नचिकेतश्चितो अग्निः
अनित्यै द्रव्यै प्राप्तवानस्मि नित्यम्
अनित्यै द्रव्यै
अनित्यै
प्राप्तवानस्मि नित्यम्।
नित्यम्।
In the previous mantra, Yamadharmaraja praised Nachiketa that you showed a lot of grit and determination. You did not get tempted by any other prayers. You were stuck to your guns and said, I want that knowledge which leads to Shreyas. He continues in the same way. You know, sometimes you will find even the teacher will say in the class, you know, I went through this. I had this difficulty. I had these kind of doubts. I didn't know which way to go. All that the teacher will tell you. Even Mahan like Swami Dayananda Saraswati has often said things like that to us. Because you can relate to it personally. So they will talk about how they came on this journey, where they faltered, what they did to get over it. A lot of these things they will talk about, sometimes in a general way, sometimes in a specific way. To reassure many of the Shishyas who may have some doubts. I don't know, how can I get this? This seems so difficult. This seems so unsure. So it gives them a little extra confidence that all I have to do is keep at it. So the Guru will often do that. Here, Dharmaraja, actually, Shastra, Shruti, through Dharmaraja's words, explains to us the adhikaritvam. There is no real need for him to repeatedly talk about Nachiketa's commitment. He knows. He's already expressed his great desire that I wish we had more and more Shishyas like you. But he continues to do that more in the form of making sure that the people who study Vedanta, study these Upanishads, get a firm grip on adhikari. So the intention of the Shruti looks like not so much the praise of Nachiketa as a Shishya, as a committed student, but to make sure that others who want to follow, who are trying to understand and have a series of doubts. We all have doubts. There'll be questions at times in the mind. To address those in many different ways. One is, of course, is for us to do mananam. But Shruti itself helps us along. And this is one of the ways that Shruti does it, by helping us understand that even devatas who have understood the Vastu, they've also gone through their own difficulties. We know, that's why we also try and understand the background of the Guru. So many things are published about Swamiji, Dayananda Saraswati, which we read as a matter of interest to see how it came about all of this. So here, Yamadharma Raja, currently now, who holds the pada of Yama, Yamya Padam, the position of a Devata, talks about how difficult it was for him to get here. Earlier, remember, we have discussed saying that very often Devatas don't have either the desire or the inclination to go after this knowledge. How does one become a Devata? How does one go into one of the other realms of experience, lokas? By following certain dharmic patterns, Vedic injunctions, one can become a Devata. But we also seen that Devatas, it is very difficult to start questioning the purpose of life. They generally tend to enjoy all that they can enjoy as a Devata, whether it's Indra or Varuna or Agni or whatever. And having enjoyed that, where they got because of their own punya karma, they come back to Bhuloka. They come back to Bhuloka with a Mishra Punya Papa, which raises questions like, why does it happen to me? What is it that I've done not right? Why do I have to suffer like this? Is there a meaning to this kind of suffering? Why is humanity suffering the way it is suffering? All the wars and the floods and earthquakes in Myanmar and so on. All those questions then come up. Such questions don't easily come up in one of the Devalokas. Here also you will find, even in Bhuloka, there are people who have a level of comfort in their life, very high level of comfort, are less likely to start questioning. They're less likely to start going after this, because right now they are in a position of comfort till something hits them. And sooner or later something will hit. So you are Mishra. So they tend to focus on what they can get here. Like that, the Devatas also tend to enjoy what they have got. But Devatas can get, it's not that they can't get. Even among them, there are people who have gone to Guru and asked for this knowledge, including people like Narada Muni, including people like many of the Devatas. Indra himself has gone to Sanat Kumar to try and get them answers. They can go, but less likely. Whereas the Adhama Jivas, animals and things, don't even have the capacity to do that. They just come here, to whichever loka they come, to exhaust their predominantly papa karma. You know, in our Puranas, it defines 14 lokas. 14 of which 7 lokas are either mixed or predominantly sukha lokas. Bhuhu, which is the earth, Bhuhu, Bhoha, Swaha, Mahaha, Janaha, Tapaha, etc., all the way up to Satyaloka. And 7 nominally or figuratively lower lokas. Atala, Vitala, Talatala, etc., all the way down to Patala, where it is more of suffering than, because it is exhaustion of mainly Papa Karma. So this in between the Martyaloka, Bhuloka, is the one we have, where we have experience of very nice present circumstances, wherefore we know it is possible. But it is not always there. It is there for some time. There is sukha, 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 then dukha, 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 sukha, sukha. We go through these cycles. And therefore, since we have these moments of sukha, sometimes absolute sukha even. Absolute sukha means what? The distinction between knower, knowledge and known disappears. The Triputi disappears. I love this example. When you see a little baby gurgling and laughing, how many of us at that time remember, oh, I have this problem, I have this backache? Nobody remembers them. You look at that baby and you're transformed. You just don't think of anything else at that moment. That is the moment when you experience that kind of close to absolute sukha. Nothing else matters. So we do have these moments of this kind of sukha. And we have a lot of moments where we start questioning, why me? Why should this happen to me? Well, did I do something wrong? All of those questions, when they're raised, knowing that there is a possibility of absolute sukha, a small percentage of people start serious search, questions. And of that, a few people finally understand. And the only route they have, only path they have, only pantha they have is through the words of the Shruti as unfolded by a guru who is a Shrotriya Brahmanishta. We've seen this. Since the process is pretty much convoluted, at every step there is a possibility that one is discouraged. One either gives up and says, Angur khatte hain. Or one says, this is too difficult. Or there's too much uncertainty. Or there's too much with some things I don't understand, one might give up. And therefore, a few people who don't give up, who persist with it, eventually, achirenadi gachati, get there sooner than later. This process continues. So Yamadharma Raja, in the words of the Shruti, talks about his own. Today he has become Yamadharma Raja. This will be for a limited time. This is a padavi. This is not a permanent thing. He will retire from here also. But till he is there, he enjoys certain privileges. But I personally think Yamadharma Raja, unlike Indra and Varuna, etc., does a job which leaves people crying, sad. I can't be very nice for anybody. Even a person who knows what this is all about, he is doing a job which is full of grief. So maybe he has a better chance of going to Brahmaji and say, listen, I don't understand. Will you teach me? Although I'm a devata. Better chance than many others, I think. Because Yamadharma Raja's position is a limited position. You know, in our system of calculation, everything is cyclic or cyclic if you're American. You know, they have to change everything, no? Because the British say it in a certain way, they want to say it in a different way. If they drive on the left, they want to drive on the right. All that they just to show them as being different from the British. They've done that. So maybe for them it's cyclical. Our system of measurements, all cyclic. There's nothing which is permanent. Small cycle, bigger cycle, even 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 bigger cycle. That's how our... So for our minds to grasp imagine a time frame, subatomic space and time, or cosmic space and time is relatively easy. But we get educated in the Western system where we ourselves draw limitations to our thinking. They say you know, the most innovative brains in the world are the Jews and much of the Indian population. But we restricted ourselves. We put some limits on that ourselves, and all thanks to Western education system. Because our time measurement and space measurement, they're interrelated. Starts with the Paramanu. I don't know if there's a smaller figure than that, but a Paramanu is approximately less than a millisecond. That's the existence of Paramanu. But goes all the way up to Mahapralaya. All of them cycling. Our easiest to understand cycle is a day, 24 hours. We know the day comes, goes, day comes, goes. And that's easily explained. There is enough science to know that the earth rotates and all that. And therefore, we have this human cycle starting with the simplest of understanding, a day cycle of 24 hours. Then we have seasons. They come and go, and they repeat. In our system, we have 6 seasons. Many places in the world don't have 6 seasons, but we have 6 seasons. And then we have a year. That also is easily explainable by the revolution of the earth around the sun, etc. We know all that. Science is enough. But before science came, it was already written down in our various texts. Not only have they written it down, Earth, the year cycle is very well known. Everything is defined on the basis of planets and their movements. What the cosmic bodies, how they move, that our ancestors knew very well. So they're able to tell you that these planetary configurations, every 60 years, because the cycle of 60 years will repeat exactly the same way. Now, you know, when somebody is born on a certain day, based on the planetary positions, his horoscope is cast. Horoscope is a reflection of prarabdha karma. His horoscope is cast. Now, if you take another person who also was born exactly 60 years later, since the planetary positions will be identical, you will find his horoscope, his prarabdha, is almost identical to this one. And there's enough data available on this to check it out. Because there's a cycle of 60 years. And each year has a name. You all know that currently we are in the year called Krodhi. Krodhi Samvatsara. In fact, if you go to Anekati, there's a Murugan temple on top of the hill. And there are 60 steps to climb that Murugan temple. They've done a beautiful thing. On each step, they've written the name of a year. So you can see that when you reach the top, you have to come back to the bottom to start the cycle again. So that's a cycle of 60 years. In fact, it's one of the reasons why we celebrate the 60th birthday. Not by the English calendar, but by our original calendar. Because you have survived a full cycle and come back to where you started, where the entire planetary system was identical. Up to this is relatively easy. You know, this is the range I was saying. From a day up to a year is relatively easy. And then the idea of a decade, a century, a millennium, etc. will come. All that is fine. Let them be there. Instead, we say that a Earth year that we know, the next bigger cycle is called a yuga. Currently, we are in the smallest of the 4 yugas. There are 4 yugas, you know that. We are in the smallest of the 4 yugas, called Kali Yuga, which is the worst of the 4 yugas. Fortunately, it's the smallest of the 4 yugas, and has a known size of 432,000 years. The bad news is we have done only about 5,000 odd years of Kali Yuga, so we still have a lot of Kali Yuga to go. And then there are many things that are written in our scriptural texts, both Shruti and Puranas, which talk about this. The Puranas give exact measurements. How many years, how it goes, what state of the cycle we are in, etc. And our Shruti often tells you in this period, what is the best way to reach for moksha. Our entire system is based on gaining moksha. Therefore, some of them will tell you this is the method to. So, Kali Yuga, there is a Upanishad itself called Kali Santarshana Upanishad. Santarshana is what? To cross. How do you get over the Kali period? Kali period being what it is, like the worst period, all the negative things happen in Kali Yuga. We are seeing that every day. People kill each other, hurt each other, all that we do. in that kind of period, how do you get over this Kali Yuga? Kali Santarshna Upanishad says, in fact, there are other places where it says, the best way out of in this kind of situation is Nama Japa. So, Kirtana. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare is one such mantra given to us in this Upanishad, which of course our ISKCON has taken and flipped it around. They call it Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Wonderful. So we recognize what happens in Kali Yuga. It is recorded. What are the things that will happen in each Yuga? And these are so finely calculated that today, and these planetary positions can be calculated for any period. 10,000 years ago, what it was like, 10,000 years ahead, what it's going to be like, can be easily calculated. You and I may not know how to calculate, but there are people who have understood this, they can calculate and tell you. Every year, a panchang is made by the Pandits. It tells you precise position of each planet. So they have used this knowledge, many scientists today, and they have dated texts like Ramayana and Mahabharata and given you an exact date when Rama was born. Because in the Ramayana, there is a description of the planetary position when Rama was born. So now you trace back and find out when was this configuration available. And they can precisely tell you. And then when was he sent to the forest? When did he come back? When was the war with Ravana? When did he come back? When did the coronation take place? Everything can be dated. Simply by calculating the planetary positions and matching it with what is given in the text. It's so easy to do for them. So there's a lot of debate about whether Ramayana and Mahabharata are true stories or fiction. Not that it's of a great deal of interest to us, but I'm pointing it out from the point of view of saying that these planetary position calculations are pretty precise. So you have Kali Yuga, which I said is the smallest of the lot, and that itself is 432,000 years, according to Puranas. And then there is the next bigger Yuga called Dwapara Yuga. It's a little better. And Dwapara Yuga has twice as much time. So we'll have 864,000 Earth years in Dwapara Yuga. Dwapara Yuga is when they've dated Krishna. All the Mahabharata is dated in Dwapara Yuga. More or less at the end of Dwapara Yuga, so it's about 5,000 years ago. Then there is the Treta Yuga, which somewhere I saw is to do with Ramayana. Is dated somewhere around there. And it is even better than Dwapara Yuga and is therefore longer. It is 3 times as long as the Kali Yuga. So it is 1,296,000 years. You can calculate 432 into 3. And then the best time on the earth is Satyuga, which fortunately for mankind is 4 times as big as Kali Yuga, which is really 1,728,000 Earth years. This is all within the calculation within the Earth year. But our calculation don't stop there. How will you calculate Devata's time period? Earth year is not adequate. Although we use the earth theory as a reference because that's what we know. But each 4 yugas together is called a Chatur Yuga or Mahayuga. You can very easily see it's 10 times the Kali Yuga. So if Kali Yuga is 432,000 years, the Mahayuga is 4,320,000 years. Earth years that we know. So those kind of huge numbers our ancestors have worked on, imagined, and we have the capability to do it as well. It doesn't stop there. We talk of a Brahmaji. Brahmaji is also not permanent. Right? I thought Brahmaji was permanent, only relatively permanent. In the Puranas, it says that each Brahmaji's day, interestingly, is 1,000 Mahayugas. Now, you know, already a Mahayuga is 4,032,320,000 years. So, Brahmaji's one day becomes 1,000 times that. Already we're talking about billions of years, 404.32 billion years. These numbers are probably approximate. And then this is further subdivided. There we heard of Manu. Each of Brahmaji's day has a cycle of 71 Manus. One Manu comes, 171 of a Brahmaji day, he rules the Dharma. Then he goes and another Manu comes. So you have 71 Mahayugas making one, what is called Manvantara. And currently we are in a Manvantara called Vaivasvata Manvantara. All this is recorded. And within the Manvantara, I said there are 71 Mahayugas and one Manvantara. Which one are we in currently? We say it is on the Ashtavimshati Manvantari, Mahayuga. 28th Mahayuga of the 71 Manvantara of the current Manu, who is said to have written the laws of Dharma. It will change. When Brahmaji has a daytime which is 1,000 Mahayugas, I said 71 Mahayugas make one Manvantara. In this one day of Brahmaji, which is 1,000 Mahayugas, you can very easily see there will be approximately 14 Manus. Therefore, there are 14 Manvantaras in each Kalpa. This Brahmaji's day is called a Kalpa. So when Brahmaji's night comes, there is a Pralaya. Everything goes and new things come. There are various mantras available in different texts, including in the Sukta, where it says that Brahmaji recreated the sun, moon, etc. at the end of each Kalpa. Brahmaji is also not permanent. If you take Brahmaji's day as 1,000 Mahayugas, a year of Brahmaji's multiplied with 360 days. Already a very big number. And 100 such years defines the limit of Brahmaji's life. Huge number. For us, relatively speaking, it's almost infinite. But our Shastra defined that. 360 days into 100 makes 1 year, into 100 years of Brahmaji defines what is called a Mahapralaya. When even Brahmaji goes, and a new Brahmaji comes up. So in this process, you will find that all the devatas also go and new ones come back. Not only Manu, but all the devatas. They also have limited cycle. This 100 years of Brahmaji's life, called Mahapralaya, is itself divided into Pararde. The first 50 is called Prathama Pararde, and the second is called Dvitiya Pararde. Now, these words will be familiar to all of us, because every time there's a puja in the house, the Panditji will define that I am doing this puja. When you do a sankalpa, I am doing this puja for this purpose, at this time, in this place. And how he defines it is, Mamopartha Samartha Duritakshay Dwara Sri Parameshwara Prithyartham Shubhe Dine Shobhane Muhurte Adya Praharanam Mana Dvitiya Pararde. Starts from there. We are now in the Dvitiya Pararda, second half of the 100-year cycle of current Brahmaji. Dvitiya Pararde, Shweta Varahe Kalpe. Even Kalpa has a name. This is called Shweta Varaha Kalpa. Vaivashvata Manvantare. Current Manvantara is called Vaivashvata Manvantare. Okay. Ashta Vimshati Tame. I told you, we are on the, out of the 71 years of Mahayuga of the Manvantara, we are on the 28th. Next time you hear the puja, you listen to this. Ashta Vimshati Tame Kali Yuge, brought it down to more understandable level. Kali Yuge, we are in Kali Yuga. Where in the Kali Yuga are we? I told you we are only about 5,000 years into Kali Yuga. Prathame Pade. If you divide into 4 padas, each is about 108 years. 108 is a very interesting number. We are still the Prathame Pade. Prathame Pade jump and now. After this is all time. We are in the Kali Yuga Prathama Pada here doing this puja for gaining this end. Then we what does it say? Jambu Dvipe. There are 7 Dvipas, all defined in our Purana. Why we are is called Jambu Dvipa, 7 continents. All this is known to us. Bharata Varshe, Bharata Khande, Meroho, Dakshine Parshve, Shakabde, Asmid Vartamane, Vyavaharike, Prabhavavati Shashti, Simhamase, Shukla Pakshe, all that now brings down to exact situation currently where we are. So in this whole cycle, somewhere, all the devatas also have their own cycle. In fact, that's also defined. Each loka has a certain cycle. See, that's why I keep saying, if you go to Svargaloka, you may find that in Svargaloka, a person spends maybe a few days of Svarga time. But it looks like a huge huge number of years on the when calculated on the Earth's time. So it looks so large. Therefore, the Swarga is also sometimes called Nitya Sukha. It is not Satya Sukha. It is only Apekshika Nitya Sukha. Relatively long period. But in terms of the time frame in that loka, it may be just a few days or less. With that kind of background, to understand what is happening with Yamadharmaraja, he says beautifully, I know that Nitya Vastu cannot be gained by anything which is Anitya. What is Anitya? Every karma we do is Anitya. Every karma phala is also Anitya. And no way can I gain that Nitya Vastu. Today I know it. It's so important to understand this. We do, will not gain you that Nitya Vastu. But the do can be done such a fashion that it takes us one more step closer to gaining this Nitya Vastu. Because I know no product, no wealth, no karma phala, all of which are Anitya, they can get me Nitya. But in my time, I was also ignorant. I didn't know. Therefore, what did I do? I followed Veda. I taught you, hey Nachiketa, that mantra to gain Swargaloka. Swargaloka is Apacharikam, any of the lokas. All the way up to Brahmaloka. They're all Anitya. That's why I give this whole structure of our time frame. All Anitya. Maybe huge compared to what we know as our time frames, but Anitya still finite. And he said, in my time, in my ignorance, I also did the same thing that I taught you. At that time, it was not called Nachiketa Agni, because I've given you the name only now. I've called it Nachiketa Agni now. But at that time, it was not called Nachiketa Agni, but I did that. That means I followed Veda precisely in order to gain Devaloka. And because of that, I got this Padam. And very clear that he's only talking about Yamya Padam. That Padam is also limited, temporary. He will have to vacate that post, retire out of that post. Only a post. Where he enjoys a lot of good things and we perform certain duties. And he doesn't specifically say that, but presumably, after he had gained this Padam, his inquiry continued. And possibly, he went to, before that he says, I therefore gained this Apekshika Nityam. Daivaloka is Apekshika Nityam. Like that very long period of pleasure and enjoyment. But obviously, since he now knows the truth, the reality, he therefore must have learnt it somewhere. Where can he learn it? There's only one place. Once you go to Devaloka, you have to go to somebody who knows. He has to find a guru. So he probably went to Brahmaji and said, I still don't understand. I've now become a Devata, but please teach me. And what did Brahmaji teach him? Brahmacharya, who was his guru? He only taught him Tattvamasi. Right? Why do you have to go through all this to learn that after so much time? Availability right here and now. Availability in this Janma as a Manushya. All he can be taught is Tattvamasi. There is nothing more to teach. But taught in a way which I can understand, which I don't give up. So you obviously learned that. And after persistent insistence by Nachiketa, whose insistence he praised extensively, he agreed to teach Nachiketa, accept him as a Shishya, and teach him this Atma Jnana, Moksha Jnana. So these verses till verse 13 talks about these things only, talks about the value of this knowledge, the glory of this knowledge, the glory of the teacher, the importance of the Shishya being prepared and not getting distracted. Talks about all this till, like I said, it is all Shastra is doing this, Shruti is doing it to help us understand Adhikaritvam. Now, all the evidence we have so far says Nachiketa is already an Adhikari. Therefore, he probably started to get impatient. He's not only Adhikari, he's also a young boy. So you listen to all this, Yamadharmaja praising him, but at some point, he said, listen, all that is fine, but teach me. What is it that is beyond dharma? Please teach me as you see it. You will see that in the next 2-3 verses later. You will see that. But till then, the idea is that students like us can grasp the value and the importance of Shishya being ready, us being ready. So he says, Janamyaham Shevadihi Anityatvam. Shevadihi literally means any object, any product, any karya. But Shevadihi is a treasure. I think Tamil called Pokisham. I may be wrong. Anything which is valuable, anything which people long for. And when Shakaracharya writes a commentary, he says it is karma phala. Good karma phala, everybody wants, everybody looking for. Therefore, Shevadhi. But every karma phala is anityam. This I know. Janami, aham janami. Shevadihi anityam. This I know. Iti aham janami. Because nahi dhruvaihi prapyatehi dhruvam tat. Dhruvam is that which is nityam. That which is permanent, doesn't change. You know Dhruva Nakshatra, no? The nakshatra which is used by navigators, which have been used for a long, long time. They call it pole star in English. Dhruva Nakshatram, because it is fixed. So based on that, you can estimate the direction the ship is going in. And that dhruvam, that which is nityam, adhruvaihi na prapyate. This cannot be gained by any limited thing. Already he said that karma phala is limited. He is going to say, I also did all the nice things and I got a karma phala in the form of Devaloka. Yamaloka in this case. But everything is anitya. Nahi dhruvaihi prapyatehi, nahi adhruvaihi prapyatehi dhruvam tat. That dhruvam cannot be gained by adhruvam. Krita kritartha. We've seen in other Upanishads, Mundaka Upanishad, that intelligent person who's examined all that you can gain in the world, realize that that which I'm trying to get cannot be gained by doing, because any doing and the phala of doing is anityam. What I'm looking for is nitya vastu. Pariksha lokan karmachitan brahmana nirvedamadhyat akritat kritena. That which is never created. How can you gain it by doing something, creating something? It's a nityam. Nitya vastu cannot be created. If it is created, it will also have an end point. Anything created will have an end point. We are talking about nitya vastu. Because I didn't know at that time, what did I do? Tataha maya nachiketaha chito gnihi. What did I do? I performed Nachiketa Agnihi. At that time, it was not called Nachiketa, but now that I've given it a name, Nachiketa Agnihi, I'm telling you, I did that myself. And because of that rigorous doing of Nachiketa Agni, performance of Nachiketa Agni, I got rewarded with Yamya Padam. Yama Padam. But fact is that Yama Padam is also Anitya. So somewhere I got that, but it is apekshika nityam. Yamya padam is like any devata padam, apekshika nityam, because measured on the time frame that we know, it is huge. That's why I gave you this whole cycle thing. That can be very, very large. Looks almost infinite, but it's not. Anityaihi dravyaihi praptavan asmi nityam. I thought I will get something which I really want. But what I got was praptavan asmi. Nityam. That which is apekshika nityam. What is that? Yamyam padam. Yama padam. I got that yama padam. But after I got the yama padam, somewhere my inquiry did not stop. I continued to look for, because I realized that this is a anityam. Apekshika nityam, but nityam is best. It is nityam itself, there are three types. Apekshika nityam is something which, compared to our known time period, is enormously large. Then you have something called pravaha nityam. Pravaha nityam, nityam that keeps flowing, it keeps changing, but never stops. Like the Vedas. In every kalpa, after every Mahapralaya, new set of rishis will understand Vedas and will present it to all of us, all the people who are there in that particular new kalpa, that knowledge. So it is not the same, it is not the same people, it is not the same rishis, but it is a continuing process, like a Ganga. Ganga Pravaha. You take the Ganga water at any point, it is not the same water the next minute. It is not Nityam in that sense. But it is Pravaha Nityam. It is still there. Never stops. Plus Pravaha Nityam. Apekshika Nityam, Pravaha Nityam, and absolute Nityam. There's only one absolute Nityam possible. That absolute Nityam is what we are searching for. We are trying to understand. We might get Apekshika Nityam by gaining access to some lokas. We may get some Pravaha Nityam, but that is not what we're looking for. Dharmaraja is trying to explain this to us. And what you're looking for is Nitya Vastu. And the Nitya Vastu is Moksha Jnana. We will continue this and see what Ashyakara has to say about this text. We'll do that tomorrow. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om